trust no one. Trust no one. That is genuinely the way many people believe today, that we cannot trust anything. You know, it's fake news, it's fake politicians, it's fake everything. People went from trusting a lot in past years to trusting nothing today. Now, honestly, I think that trust no one is an important step on man's evolution. But it's not the first step. I genuinely hope it's not the last step. In this short video, we're going to talk about what I believe is a possible next step past trust no one that might lead humanity into a slightly better direction. And I'm also going to talk about how did we get here? Where did we come from? How did we get to this moment in history? I'm Disclosure Dad. Let's disclose some truth. All right, let's talk about step one for humanity. Trusting everyone. Believe it or not, and this will be hard for some of you to believe. Humans, us, Americans and before, we actually trusted our institutions. We actually trusted government. I mean, it's weird, but it's true. You may have heard of these people, like the World War II generation. You know, we went to war and everyone, you know, it was a noble war and everything was great and America was wonderful. And people trusted that as the truth and that there was no chicanery going on and so forth. And we trusted our institutions. We trusted the Boy Scouts. We trusted the churches. We trusted the governments. We trusted the companies not to poison us. We trusted the pharmaceutical companies, which were just beginning actually after World War II to heal us with newfound things like penicillin. And it was a wonderful time. It was utopia. The end. That was it, right? It was the end. No, unfortunately, no, that wasn't the end. Because what happened, as you probably know, is things started to change. Very rapidly, we got into a situation where all these institutions started to lie. Not that they weren't before, but the lies started to kind of be known. For example, Vietnam War turned out was, started in a thing called the Gulf of Tonkin. You can look it up. We kind of shot first. Don't tell anybody. The JFK assassination, which really, according to many historians, and I believe this, is I think the JFK assassination, the Martin Luther King assassination, Robert F. Kennedy, really rocked Americans' trust in their government. Because, especially JFK, it was so obviously a conspiracy. It wasn't even, it's clearly was not a lone gunman. I'm sorry. Even the government admits that today as being true. There was at least two gunmen. There was a conspiracy for sure. Full stop. But these were cracks in the foundation of institutional truth, in our belief in our institutions. But then it got worse. We moved forward into the 2000s. We had the scandal with Catholic Church and priests acting very inappropriately with certain members of their congregations. Not good. Big problem. People started to really question how this could occur. We had Boy Scout scandals. Boy Scouts, storied institution of the early 20th century, suddenly is also acting inappropriately with America's youth. In 2016, we had a presidential election. And during that election, we had a certain young, youthful candidate who started using the phrase fake news to describe what was happening on the news networks. Everything was fake news. And while it's kind of silly, not everything's fake news. A more nuanced truth to what he was saying is that the news that you watch, and this is true, the news that you watch, most major networks are tweaking the news you receive through the lens of their own perspective. They're trying to get you to believe their persuasion, might be it political or otherwise. That is a problem. That doesn't make the news fake, but it definitely makes it watered down, twisted, manipulated, and used to coerce you into believing what they want you to believe. So yeah, fake news is a great meme, but it does speak to a actual reality that the news that we watch ain't really trustworthy the way it was back in the day of Tom Brokaw, who, believe it or not, back in the day, those guys, there were laws that said that they had to tell the truth. And that if they made a mistake, they actually had to go on the air to correct it. And in the old days, they actually had to have fair and balanced. If they gave 10 minutes of airtime to one political candidate on one side of the aisle, they had to give an equal 10 minutes to the other. It was a very different time. And obviously that is part of the decline we see today, is those kinds of laws that help to encourage truth have also broken down. All right, let's fast forward to 2020. By 2020, trust no one, step 2 in humanity, was in full force. We'd gone from trust everything, step 1, to step 2, trust absolutely no one. And I think I can prove this pretty easily, and I'm pretty sure most of you might agree. And during the COVID thing, nobody believed freaking anything. Nobody believed their governments. They didn't believe what they were told about the origin of the. They didn't trust the scientists and the health professionals about whether they should or should not take a vaccine. Nobody trusted anything. People listened to their neighbors. They listened to podcasts. They listened to whatever, but they definitely were not listening to the major storied institutions that were supposed to help them supposedly get better and deal with this crisis. Nobody trusted the institutions. It was complete bedlam. All right. Now it's time to move on to step 3. Step 1, as you remember, was trust everyone. Step 2 was trust no one. Step 3, in my opinion, is something that will move humanity closer to our ideal future, something that will get us closer to enlightenment or whatever that is. And I believe it's actually simple. Step 3 I'm proposing is trust, but verify. Trust, but verify. Now, hold on. You may be thinking, yeah, I already verify. But this is nothing new. I would ask you seriously, really, are you actually trusting and verifying? Because trusting is first, not judging in advance. So you hear some new information, maybe from a news source or friend or institution that you may not know or know much about, or maybe even have a negative opinion about, but you take the moment to trust what they're saying. That's step 1. Step 2 in trust and verify is then go verify it. The basic steps include Googling it. Now, I'm not saying that Google or other search engines are going to be the definer of truth, but let's be honest. When was the last time you listened to something that, from a trusted news source, some of the 1 or 2 that you have left, and you say, oh gosh, I'm going to go verify that because while it sounds true, it was on my podcast, my favorite podcaster's channel, therefore it must be true. When was the last time you even double checked? Verify. Trust, but verify. Now, it doesn't mean that once you have, quote, verified or does some basic research, that's going to be the end, that you're like, okay, now I know for sure. Because you probably won't. A Google search, a DuckDuckGo search, or whatever gives you a data point. It gives you some more information for you to be able to say, okay, I have high confidence, low confidence that this might be true. If I have heard it from a trusted source, I have gone and done some basic research on it. Maybe I've heard it from a couple other places, maybe some scientists and whatever. I have more data points to increase my level of confidence in the validity, the truth of this particular thing, whatever it might be. In other words, trust but verify actually requires you to do a little bit of work. It means you can't be a lazy consumer of information. It means that you have to go and actually do it basic work at least to be able to determine if something is true. All right, so let's say you've done that Google search and it may or may not have actually yielded you any information. I mean, there are some topics that won't work much for anyway, especially, now I'm Disclosure Dad, so we talk about a lot of crazy stuff at this channel. And many of these things have very few data points to determine whether or not something is true. So what can you do? What's another data point beyond Googling it? Something that maybe I could do at home to try and determine the truth of some crazy story about somebody who was abducted by aliens or something else, to see if there's any additional truths. Well, I personally use a technique, if you listen to this channel, you've heard me talk about it many times, is calibrating the truth. If you don't know what calibration is, I do recommend that you look on my YouTube channel. I have a whole video series about how to do calibration yourself. There should be a link somewhere in the description on that video series. Trust, but verify. Trust, but verify. I believe this could be the third step in humanity's path towards a greater, brighter future. I'm Disclosure Dad. Let's disclose some truth together. Please like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Have a great day.